Kei te meninga e pai nei, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. E mihi anau ki ngā takahoa o mua, moi mai rā, ki ngā takahoa o nāia nei, me ngā mea katahi anō ka whakahonoretia, tēnā tātou katoa. It is a great honour for me to stand here today. Hoi anō e mihi hoki anau ki te rōpū nā rātou taku ingoa I tuku kia whiwhi ahau tēnei honore. Te manawa haukura, te rōpū rangahau o te Wānanga o Aotearoa, tētahi o ngā whare Wānanga o te motu. So I was listening to my earlier colleague, a companion, Bronwyn, talk about 8 universities. So I have taught at Waikato University, at Canterbury University, at Waikato Polytechnic, and now I teach at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa in their Applied Indigenous Knowledge Master's Program. I had retired, but my daughter thought I didn't enjoy retirement, so sent me an email to say, Mum, there's a job come up, I think you're just the right person for it. So I've been there for 10 years. I am a mother of 8 children, and I was interested in the earlier companion talking about stem cell transplant because I had a twin daughter who had leukemia and her twin sister, and her oldest daughter, my granddaughter Tirama, is here today. She's got a degree in graphic design and works in production. My daughter was able to have a stem cell transplant and live for another 20 years, but she's no longer with us, so we miss her dearly. I have 40-something grandchildren and 22 great-grandchildren. So I've been listening to you all and thinking, gee, I think my life was more fun than you guys. However, it is because of your research and your dedication to the subjects you chose to work in that I am able to be who I am. And I'm a performer. That's what I do. And I want to acknowledge also the small part of my huge family that have been able to come along this afternoon. As I said, I'm one of 10, 5 girls, 5 boys, and my youngest sister, Te Rita, is here, and she has a QSM. So, but she was also a regional commissioner for the Ministry of Social Development for many, many, many years, so public servant. And I also have my niece Te Mihinga, her daughter, and my oldest daughter Hani here, who are thrashing their way through their PhDs. So, you know, we're there to support them, and most of you in this room will know what that's like when you have to also work full-time. Also, I have my oldest brother, Dr. Alan Papesch, and he taught aeronautical engineering for 40 years at Canterbury. His only daughter, Andrea, who's a physiotherapist, and her husband, Roger, who's been an accountant in the Navy for plenty years. They've honoured me by coming and sharing in this day. And my oldest son is also here with me. He's been an assistant principal at a secondary school, a principal of a primary school, and now works for the correspondence school. So out of the 10 of us in my family, I think 6 of us became teachers and academics. And my 8 children, nearly all of them are teachers. And yet I didn't encourage any of them to do that. They just kind of grew up at university because that's where I worked, and my youngest 2 lived in a bassinet in my office while I was teaching at university. So I've been involved in performance studies for many years, and in fact I started out studying classical opera, and that's what I thought I was going to be, an opera singer. I had no idea I was going to be a teacher or a researcher or a publisher of articles and books. But these are just a couple of shots of me. My youngest daughter put this together. So she picked out photos that she wanted to. I was really lucky. I did very well in the local and national competitions as a young girl. So that's what I thought I was going to be, a classical opera singer. And this is while I was at secondary school. And so here, on the right-hand side, the far corner, I also spent my time working in Creative New Zealand for Toi Māori as part of the musical arm of the national committees. And that's just a photo of a few of us. Billy Christian right up the top there used to play in a band back in the 50s and 60s, was well known then. And I managed to be able, when I had to give up being an opera singer, I came back to Waikato University and decided to learn te reo. My mother had just passed, and my older sister was teaching in Hamilton at the time, and I said to her, come on, we've got a big family. If we don't bring the reo back into our family, who will? So we did that along with our younger sister, and all of our children now, and our grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren all speak te reo. Only my youngest two were fortunate to access total immersion schooling. And I was talking to one of the other recipients earlier on to say that they never learnt formal English, but both of them got their masters from Waikato University, one in management and leadership organisation, and the other one majoring in Māori studies, but she also studied anthropology and computer studies with no formal English training other than what she heard every day. But they loved to read, so they would read things. And I remember Tengo, when she was 7, reading the newspaper, and she said to me, Mum, what does this word mean? And I said, say it to me. And she goes, indelible. And I said, oh, that's indelible. So she was pronouncing it how she had learnt her own language. And another word was, oh, what does this word mean? And I say, pronounce it. She goes, careful. I said, oh, that's careful. That's to be careful. Kia tūpato. But that's how they learnt their English, accessing it for themselves. So up at the top there, I was lucky enough to once I gave up singing in classical opera, I missed it. But I met Hirini Melbourne, who some people may have heard of. He died quite young, and I managed to sing on 3 of his albums, and we taught in the same department and travelled the country singing together, so I was lucky to be able to transfer my voice into another space. I also taught in our very first degree of total immersion. That was taught at Waikato University. It's called Te Tohu Paitahi. So all of their first year was taught in te reo, and at that time we had 65 departments around the university who had Māori speaking and Māori teaching staff members. So those students were able to go and do their undergraduate degrees completely in te reo. And I was lucky enough to be the first ever teacher of that one. And I did spend many years teaching in secondary school. I needed to have that experience out because a lot of staff members get their doctorates and go straight into a department teaching and really have no idea what it's like sitting in front of a classroom of teenagers where they really test you. So I experienced that. So when I arrived at university, the university had decided to set up their own competitive kapa haka. And our professor at the time, who was also a companion, Sir Professor Doctor, I'm not sure what order they go in, Timoti Kāretu, made me the female leader. There was no discussion. And some of the others in the team wondered why. But as a result of that, I was the first ever, won the first ever Female Leaders Prize for kapa haka for Māori performance. And that's Sir Peter Tapsell giving me the prize there. Performance studies is probably the newest academic discipline on the block. And for many, many years, we weren't recognised. You couldn't get PBRF for doing performance studies. But it's what I enjoyed and what I could research because I did it. So, I was a participant. I didn't have to look from the outside in. And doing the research in that case was rather easy, I should say. So how are we going for minutes? One of the proudest moments of my life was when my own family created their own kapa haka, presenting at the regional competitions in Tainui. I'm a child of the kingitanga, and we've got a new queen, so you might have a bit of an idea what the kingitanga is all about. And on the right-hand side, those are photos of the kids performing, and this is me and my 7 children. No, yes. Yep, 7 children there, and I'm very proud of them all because they've all graduated in one way or another and are still working in this field. But I'm more proud of my time at Canterbury. I heard somebody else saying they found a good supervisor. I found a good supervisor who knew Richard Schechner from New York, who set up performance studies as an academic discipline, and she became my supervisor for my PhD, and we're still very close friends today. So I did the stuff, I performed before I did the research and the writing, but there's a paucity of information about Māori performance, and yet it's becoming, every time a group leaves, a governmental group leaves New Zealand to go and promote somewhere overseas, they like to take a kapa haka with them to show them off. So it's very important that we continue, I think, to study performance studies and to write about it. Tēnā koutou katoa.